everyone. Hello, welcome to the Healing Webinar. I'll whip through what we're doing tonight, Stephen. That might be useful for everyone. So, hello, we have got people from all around the world here today. We've had a few shouts out from Holland and the west coast of Ireland, so wherever you are, welcome. We're going to be running for about an hour and a half tonight. In case you're wondering the names behind the voices, obviously there's Stephen, the Barefoot Doctor. I'm Sue O'Kell, and I'm going to be asking the questions to Stephen tonight on your behalf. So in terms
Yeah,
of...
and if my sound goes a bit weird or underwater, there's nothing I can do about it because I'm up a mountain with very, very bad connections. I'm just doing, well, it's not I'm doing the best I can. This is the best I've got. So let's hope it really works nicely for you.
Well, you're coming through loud and clear now, Stephen, so that's great news. So just in terms of what we're going to cover over the next hour, we're going to talk to Stephen a little bit about his training in healing and also the approach he now uses with people, the Daoist approach to healing. Then we're going to dive into the many, many, many hundreds of questions we've received about healing. So we will not be taking questions from the floor tonight, as in through the question box, simply because we have got so much to cover and we're trying to cram as much as we possibly can into about an hour and a half. And in the last part of the session tonight, we're going to be letting you know where you can go to get ongoing support for your healing. Basically all about Barefoot Doctor Global and the services and support that you can get through the website. So without further ado, which appears to become one of my stock phrases, let's talk to Stephen about how he did become the Barefoot Doctor. How did you get interested in healing, Stephen?
I was always awake to the challenge of the human condition. I'm pretty sure that I was an alien and seemed to just be very aware of the fact that people were suffering all around me, mostly because they were living in a state of pretense, pretending to be this, pretending to be that, to fit in and what have you. And this was causing much pain and stress. I was particularly struck by, in those early days when I was born in 1954, the high incidence of people experiencing what they used to call nervous breakdown, which is basically the soul screaming out, I can't pretend, you just got to stop pretending, let's get real here. And the incredible paucity of facilities that there were for people undergoing such trauma. This was aside from, the fact that people had pains in their bodies and this, that and the other. I also was aware from an early age of the limitations, shall we say, of the modern Western medicine, that it seemed to be fairly crude in terms of certain states of the body and mind. But this was not anything that kind of inspired me to become a healer, because in those days, the only healers that were around were called faith healers, and that sounded really kind of weird and spooky to me, and actually still does. And that had no appeal whatsoever, and it wasn't really something I was thinking about. What I did used to love doing was fighting. I was a real fighter. I loved fighting, and I had a gang at school and kind of ruled the roost. That was my thing. I used to really enjoy that sensation, and I'm sure had I not, at the age of 11, discovered Aikido, I would have become a hardened gang leader, criminal type. Fortunately, my dad had the prescience to suggest that I try out this new martial art that had come over to England called Aikido. It wasn't really that new, but it was for England. This was in 1964, I think, and it was a Japanese guy who'd come over, set up for practice in Harley Street, was treating the aristocracy of the United Kingdom, this, Lord that, Princess Margaret, and all that sort of lot. That all meant absolutely nothing to me. I had no interest in it whatsoever. I just wanted to learn this martial art because I wanted to be like James Bond, like become more efficient in my pugnacity. And however, he was an amazing, amazing old guy and incredible old man, and I'd never actually interfaced with an adult, so to speak, in that way, because in those days it was very much children and adults separated in different worlds. This was the first time I'd ever had that kind of connection with somebody that had nothing to do with any of that stuff, personality, society, any of it. This was purely about consciousness, body posture, energy flow and metaphysics, and it was really quite a shock, but a very beautiful, exciting shock to find myself in that environment. Anyway, after a couple of private, one-on-one sessions with him to kind of get me primed, he inducted me into a session he was doing a couple of times a week with 5, well, I have to call them like mega alpha males. They were sort of guys in their mid-30s or so, most of whom were lords and all of whom were mega high achievers in those days. Cool guys. I mean, they were nice guys. They really were lovely, actually, ish, And me, as an 11-year-old, they all wanted to learn this exotic art of healing, as well as meditation, as well as the martial art. They were all taking it very seriously, and I didn't have the frame of reference to really kind of get the significance of it all, but I was obliged to go along with that. And because I was only young, I developed the skill to channel what the Japanese call ki, or the Chinese call chi, through the hands, or actually really through the mind, to the other person, and was able to have amazing effects of taking people's headaches away and stomach aches away. And I knew that wasn't the real issue. It was there was much more interesting stuff than stomach aches and headaches, but nonetheless, it was all about the soul, really. And it was also at that time I started reading Freud and Jung, got very interested in psychology and how that all worked. Anyhow, I was a young hippie. It was late 60s in London, something I'm very privileged to have lived through. I was precocious and looked older than my age because I was tall, so I could get away with hanging out with the senior hippies, all like they used to call them heads in those days. And nowadays I think they probably call them hearts, because we've gone a bit that way, haven't we? But which is good. But nonetheless, that hippie thing was very inspired by and informed by kind of Eastern mysticism, included in which, of course, was yoga and meditation, for which the Beatles are very responsible. They popularized meditation and all things Indian in that sense, spiritual stuff, and also Daoist bits and pieces like the yin yang symbol, the I Ching, and what have you. Eventually saw some guys doing Tai Chi in the park and recognized it maybe from a previous life, who knows, because I've never seen it in this lifetime. But I really recognized it, went around asking everybody what it was, turned out it was Tai Chi, enrolled in this school in Wimpole Street, which is also a doctor's area, strangely, that was run by Grandmaster Chi, of all silly names for a Tai Chi master, but an amazing old guy, and he taught through a variety of students, his #1 student being John Kells, who is still my Tai Chi master 40 years later, or certainly my mentor in that respect. And the Tai Chi is very much about healing, because it's about moving energy through your body and therefore being able to move it through other people's bodies. And it's part of the Daoist tradition. And as well as that, acupuncture is, and herbology and energy healing and all kinds of modalities. And it was really therefore only a matter of time before I went fully into the whole study of it all, which I did by, well, first of all, I met R.D. Laing through my yoga teacher. And he was and is probably my greatest superhero, a brilliant psychiatrist who really invented modern therapy, and was an amazing healer and teacher. Healer in the greater sense of the soul rather than hands-on stuff. So I spent 3 years studying psychotherapy with him, really up close. We became very close friends. And after that, freed up from the constraints of the sort of modern English style of seeing the world, I went off to live with the Native Americans because I needed to be around people with an ancient memory, really. That was it. I needed the perspective of an ancient memory around me, collective memory, because I could see that the world at that point in 1979 was in a real mess and was going to become increasingly so, exponentially so, and I wasn't wrong in that, alas. I mean, it's not only a mess, it's a lot of beauty as well, but, we're in a majorly critical passage at the moment, and no one in this culture seemed to have a clue what was going on or even be aware of it at that point, or very few. I certainly didn't know what they'd do about it, and I felt I needed to be around an ancient culture. Went off there and lived with them for 4 years and became brothers with a guy called Sonny Spruce, who's a medicine man, dancer, holy man, who introduced me to all the way of the kind of their way of healing and of communing with the Great Spirit, as they call it, the Tao, the Presence, and a very magical way of living. So I had an amazing education, in fact, in that sense. And then also while there, through complete coincidence, ended up being an apprentice to the Chinese master, who's the head of the New Mexican State Acupuncture Board, a really brilliant man, who 3 years of hard labour, I became qualified as an acupuncturist, but in a really beautiful way, because I was learning it hands-on, I mean, from a real master, and had taken to that like a duck to water, really. And then from then on, it was just a matter of using those templates, somehow combining them organically. They did that for themselves, and I had a practice in London from 1983 till 2000, which was without doubt the busiest acupuncture practice on the planet, and treated celebrities from every field and all over the world, and all kinds of people, 18 people a day, often 5 days or 6 days a week for 17 years, and that's about 250,000 treatments. So they say you've got to do something 10,000 times to really get it, and I think I've got it, that one. I'm pretty good at it. But my interest was always in how do I share this knowledge with everybody, because obviously I can't treat everyone, I can't teach everyone directly and personally, and most people don't have the stomach or the inclination for years of study. Why should they? They've got other things to do. So my brief I gave myself was to somehow transform this vast complex body of information into something that could be shared easily and effortlessly without bastardizing it or banalizing it. And here we are today with the effects of that. I think the healing, though, is a much more kind of global term for me, in the sense that in any one moment you have the option to either heal yourself, those around you in the situation, or harm it. There is no neutral ground. You either go one way or the other. And as soon as you become conscious and awake, you tend to have to choose the healing option, because the other one just leads to pain for everybody. And the intention to heal causes healing. It makes people feel better, and that's about as good as we can do.
So,
over to you, Sue.
So can you just give a sort of definition which sort of sums up the Daoist approach to healing? I'm asking because I know there will be people on the call who've not seen the video that you did explaining what we mean by healing.
Okay, well, healing in itself, the actual overall expression, it derives from the old German heilen, meaning to make whole. But the true meaning of it is that everything is already whole. The perception of things being broken is illusory. And when you can see past the illusion of brokenness to the pure, unbroken, healed, whole spirit within the person or within the situation, it elicits that spirit, it causes it to come through, and then that causes a healing through the body. This is the basis of Christian Science that Mary Baker Eddy invented, or it was the basis of apparently of the way Jesus used to do it. He'd say to the guy who was crippled, pick up your bed and walk, and he had such conviction because he could see the guy walking. He didn't see the illusion of the crippled state. The guy went with it, got up and started walking. You know, whether that's just an allegory or what, it doesn't matter, but it's a nice way of explaining it. Now the Daoist approach, which is all well and good, but we're not all living on the kind of metaphysical plane all the time. In fact, very few of us are, very little of the time. So the Daoist, and the Daoist mysteriously had this body of knowledge. The legend is that it came from aliens, but that's by the by. That for 12,000 years ago was already getting lost. It's so ancient. And this knowledge was of how energy, chi they call it, flows through and around the body specifically. It's a very complex system. There are 12 main conduits of the energy, that are the ones that deal with the energy derived from the environment around you. There are 8 energy channels which are associated with channel energy associated with what you inherit genetically from your ancestors. And there are 72 channels that connect those together, and then there's another whole energy body system that connects you to the world of spirit, so to speak. And there are about 1,000 junctures along those points, along those channels, where you can intervene and affect certain results. There's a specific study. I mean, it takes at least 3 years to learn them all, and how to use them, and when to use them, and why to use them. But there are many ways that people can use this knowledge to heal themselves. The way that the interventions are done are either traditionally through sticking your needle in to the point, pressing on it, or burning a herb over it, cauterizing it. The needles are the most efficient, let's say. If you're having to treat people rather than as well as yourself, and you haven't got a lot of time, it's very quick to stick a needle in and pull it out, and that will do the job if you get the right point. It's all about getting the right point, or points more like. But if you've got a little bit more time, and if you're doing it for yourself or doing it for someone you love, you can do it with your hands just as effectively. It just takes a little bit longer. It's not so important how you stimulate the point. I mean, when you're doing it for yourself, you can breathe in and out through the point. You can imagine yourself breathing in and out, and that causes energy to flow there. But pressing it is the usual way. And it's not just thumb pressing, it's very intelligent pressing. It's like you're touching gold leaf, the most precious gold leaf in the universe, so you're doing it very, very sensitively, but firmly nonetheless. Anyhow, these meridians, these energy channels rather, the 12 that deal with the environment, because they're the ones that you tend to use the most, the ones that deal with the energy that's produced by eating, by gravity, by light, by sound, by pressure, the world around you, air pressure that is, water pressure, whatever, by pollutants, by food, by fluids, and all the rest of it. That energy that comes from interacting with the environment has 12 conduits, and they're connected with each of the 5 vital organs, each of the 5 bowels, the sexual function, and the brain. And it's the 5 vital organs where most of the focus is placed, because between them they control all the functions of the body, as well as all the functions of the mind, as well as all the functions of your life. Because in this practice there's no distinction between internal and external, the outside world. You must stop me if I'm going too fast here, won't you, and if I'm too dense with all this, but the outside world is seen as a mirror to the inside world. Whatever's occurring inside will be reflected back at you externally, and vice versa. The internal responds to the external. And when you can adjust the energy in the 5 vital organs to keep it all really balanced, everything in the body works more efficiently. You promote longevity, you promote vitality, you promote flexibility, suppleness, stamina, endurance, and resistance to disease. And most importantly, which also informs all those previous things, you encourage a peaceful, joyful, excited, rather than excitable, gleeful, quite innocent, childlike state of mind, which, as any old person who's managed to keep it going in a good way will tell you, is the biggest key to longevity and a happy old age. The Daoists are quite different to the ancient ones, were different to complete opposite to our modern culture, which is extremely ageist and faddish. It just wants everything instantly, and get sick of it instantly and on to the next thing and the next thing. And this is even permeated into the human potential movement, what they call mind, body, spirit industry these days. It's like the next new thing, the next new thing, the next new thing. Which is in a way like an avoidance of just being here and practicing anything properly. But I digress. The energy that flows through the meridians is called qi, and what qi is the primary and ultimate presence informing the universe, the Tao, the God, whatever you want to call it, the ineffable, the mysterious prime cause of existence, in motion. And the effect of its motion is called chi, energy. And just as the sages say, just as the quantum physicists do, that everything in existence is energy, the entire universe is energy. Similarly, that everything in the universe is consciousness. The two are inextricably linked. You can't really have one without the other. Consciousness is carried by energy, and energy is informed by consciousness. And they call this chi. It's flowing through all of you who are listening now. It's flowing through everything there is. Without it, everything just wouldn't be. And it flows in a particular way through the body, and it flows hugely much more efficiently and freely when your body is supple and relaxed. When your body's supple and relaxed, your mind is supple and relaxed, and vice versa. When you've got a relaxed mind, your body is relaxed and the energy flows, the chi flows freely, and then you'll be in a state of wholeness, of health. You will be in a state of being healed. You're healed. What that means is that niggling symptoms are allayed. Death is postponed. Old age is postponed, or it doesn't really happen in the way that we normally think of it. And you're able to stay relatively sprightly and relatively pain-free and relatively comfortable in your skin and relatively full of vitality till a ripe old age, unless an accident happens or something else, you know. And the idea is not that you will be without symptoms, that you will be without disease. We live in a dialectic paradigm. Well, the old paradigm we're coming out of is a dialectic paradigm where everything is either this or that, which is really naive and primitive. We're moving, if we manage to make the transition, into the trialectic, which is what the Daoists were all about, which is that it's this and it's that. It can't just be one or the other, it's both. So everybody has disease in them, everybody has health in them, and it's a matter of keeping the balance a minimum 51% healthy. That if, as long as you've got 51% health, you're all right. You'll keep going, and you can build on that. Daoist physicians tend to discourage getting beyond 80%, say. I mean, they don't talk in percentages, but you get the idea. Because when you peak, the only thing that's going to happen then is you'll flip over to the other side and go down. They manage that swing between the healthy times and the ill times as smoothly as possible. They call this swing between good and bad, or easy and difficult, light and dark, fun and horrible, and all the rest of it, yin and yang. When one gets to its zenith, the other will be already starting. So if you get too healthy, in other words, the only place to go from there is unhealthy. So they try to keep it at maximum around about 80%. And what they're really looking at doing is raising the base level of your health a little bit by little bit by little bit, because that's the one you can rely on. The peak levels of health, the sort of, wow, I feel amazing, they're not to be trusted because they're momentary and passing. But that low-level build of constant build of vitality is the desired aspiration or approach. What they're doing is they're looking to heal the soul. It's all about healing the soul. The soul is the witness bearer within you. It's that's linked to the human. It's the bit that kind of links the spirit world, where there is no kind of passion, if you like, no sentiment, to the human world, which is full of passion and sentiment, and somehow serves as a bridge between them. And it sits in your body, specifically, according to the Daoist system, between your shoulder blades, but it's not in this physical dimension, so that's just an access point to it. And it bears witness from your back to you living your life, whether it's difficult or easy. It's always there, just observing with the sense of love and support for you. But when you're in denial of it, when you've got so distracted by the external world and the frou-frou and the movement of colour and light and sound and shape and what other people are doing, what other people are thinking, what you're thinking, and all the external superficial trivia and claptrap of the external world, when you're so distracted by that you've forgotten who you are or what you are, when you're so absorbed in your superficial self that you've completely lost contact with the witness bearer within, disharmony arises, and the soul is very uncomfortable with that because it's not finding its expression, which is what it came here for in the first place. It's why it kind of dropped into your body in the first place, so it could experience a beautiful ride here. And it can't do that if it's being denied. So it will produce symptoms. You could put this in other terms and say the unconscious produces symptoms in the body so that you'll pay attention. And as you know, quite often it's only through great illness that, or pain or deprivation, that people do remember their innermost self. They do remember their soul again. It's why people who suffer, or peoples who have suffered, say like the African slaves, for example, have soul. It's because they've been so much in touch with their suffering. And then look at the literally soul music that came out of that a century or two later. That's only one example, but it's quite a classic one. Pain does get us in touch with our souls. But what the Daoist healer tries to do is to attenuate, soften the swing between the phases and keep the lowest level of your health up above 51%, if that makes any sense at all.
We have had a really huge amount of questions in about healing, Stephen, so what I was hoping to do was to answer or move on to discuss a few of those. And we've got quite an interesting one to start with. Healing, the word is very loaded. People are scared and fearful of it. The word has been misused and abused. It feels like it's been losing its currency fast. As for what is behind the word, I want to know, are we ready to receive healing, not just as individual bodies, but communally?
That's a very astute question. I like that question a lot. The question is, are we ready to? I don't know. I can only ask myself, am I ready to receive it in any given moment? You can only ask yourself, are you ready to receive it? What the Daoist wisdom does propose is that if only one of us, it only takes one of us to fully be healed, and everyone will be healed. The only challenge with that is it's pretty well impossible to have someone fully healed because, as I was saying before, you get the both. But it really, because we're all so connected, and I don't know if we've reached critical mass yet, ready to be healed. I mean, if we're not, the only other alternative I can see is kind of a major war or, disease that will wipe most of us out. I don't know. I think we've got to be healed now. This is the time for the global healing, surely. If it's not now, I don't think it's going to be ever, really. So I'd have to kind of optimistically suggest, yes, we are ready. The currency of the word itself is the same as anything: spirituality, mind, body, spirit, human potential, transformation, God. It all sounds like a load of bullshit now because people have misused it, and it's been misused by so many unscrupulous people who don't know what they're talking about, so it's giving it a bad name. Yeah, that's exactly what happens with religion. It's what happens with everything good, really. It gets fucked up by people sort of denigrating it, really, by overuse. It becomes a cliche. Nonetheless, we mustn't kind of lose the spirit behind it. It's only a word after all. I mean, if you come up with a better one, we all tried, energy medicine, this, that, and the other. It's all nonsense, really. It's just words. I mean, the spirit behind it is what's important. And I don't think that's lost its currency, surely. That would be a rather cynical kind of view of the world, wouldn't it? I think we've got to keep on with the healing impulse, for sure.
So what would you say needs to be in place for healing to happen to us, or for us, or with us as individuals?
Well, first of all, there has to be the painful process of acknowledging that there is something wrong. You see, most of us are walking around in denial. As I was saying, we pretend. And it's sort of seen to be some kind of failure if you admit to yourself that you've got something wrong. And we all do have glitches in our lives, in our souls, in our bodies. Everybody does. It wouldn't be possible to be otherwise, other than for a second or two at a time. But the painful process of going, wow, I'm really fucked up. I've got this, I've got that. I need to sort this out, rather than carry on being in denial of it. That's the first stage, and that's horrible. It doesn't matter who you are, it's horrible. It can be varying degrees of horrible, but it's not pleasant because you've got to acknowledge the pain. So that's the first thing. The second stage is that you probably try and put another band-aid over it, another plaster over it, and go back into denial, which you probably will for a while. Then the discomfort will grow to where you can't ignore it, and then you've got to do something about it. So the first thing that you would need, I would imagine, is some help from somebody, a healer, somebody who's genuine, authentic, well-trained, and really has the skill and the talent, whatever it is, to set you straight or start the process off. Now, what a healer does is not actually give you something that wasn't there before or do something so you couldn't do. All they're doing is kind of entraining your deeper mind to start getting busy rebalancing the system. But it's you, the patient, who does it, not them. They just facilitate that. They just open the space for it to occur with intention, with their skills, whatever they may be. And in that sense, it doesn't really matter what modality of healing they practice, whether it could be reflexology, it could be using crystals, it could be homeopathy, it could be osteopathy, it could be acupuncture, it could be energy healing, it could be a vast array of all the newfangled names that people give to all this stuff. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is that the practitioner themselves are with integrity and genuine and care and have the skill and the talent for it and, you know, train properly. I say that's pretty rare, even though that, you know, that there is a huge amount of people practicing these days, people making stuff up at every juncture, but giving it a new name, often with an acronym, you know, but it's not important. What is important is that the practitioner is solid, is real, and that they care about you. They care about the human condition enough to really focus. And that will probably be what sets most people off on the healing journey. However, if without inclination or access to such a person, there's no problem in being guided from afar in your own healing process, and that's what I do. I mean, that's what my focus has been for the last 13 years or so, and well, for a lot longer, to somehow guide people en masse, as many as you want it, in their own healing process. Second thing, so once you've got that going on, the next stage is that you have to accept the condition you're in, which means that you've got to love it, basically, rather than fight it. So if you get a pain, the first stage is that you go, I don't want a pain, got to change it, got to mask it, got to get it better, got to make that go away. The quickest way to make a pain go away is to love it. This sounds insane, but it's the only way. If you can actually stop fighting and go, oh, I love this pain, I love it, and just really make yourself love it, because you remember, not loving things or loving things is just opinions, it's choices. You can choose to love anything you want. If you love it, the soul is heard. The soul feels heard. It's like, oh, at last, you've heard me. You've heard me screaming from deep inside here. Oh, there you are again. And that's what the loving does. And from that moment on, a healing will occur anyway. I could go on, but go on, you asked the question you wanted to ask.
We've had a few people have been making the point that they're struggling with the concept of healing because they don't believe we're broken. So if we're not broken, we don't need fixing. And Leo said, instead of healing, it seems to me that clearing or even cleaning the mind is more accurate, blowing away the veils of mind so the inner sun that Rumi called the beloved and the friend stands unveiled.
Yeah, you can call it clearing or cleaning if you want to. I don't know that it kind of is an overall name for it all, because it's not only clearing and cleaning. You also need strengthening and revitalizing, because that's the other aspect a good healer can do, is to draw, well, you can do for yourself, is to draw in the new power that you need, which will come automatically once you've cleared and cleansed, yes, but it needs a little bit of compounding and accentuating, I believe, in this modern age of high stress. But it's exactly what I was saying before. Yes, we are not broken. We are in the... There are two aspects to us, or at least two. There's the superficial aspect, the constructed self, the thing that we all think of as us, as you know, you think of as you. This doesn't exist. It's an illusion. We created it. We created it through a huge amount of opinions and beliefs, that most of which were inculcated from others who didn't know what they were talking about either, mostly, and all seen through a very dodgy, faulty perception, because, you know, we know that the mind plays tricks. We don't see everything as it is. We see it upside down from where it actually is for a start. We live under a huge amount of illusion, and we have all these memories which are lit and cameraed from dodgy angles as well. You know, it's all totally subjective and spurious. And from this mishmash of information, a lot of it's spurious, we create, without realizing it, this thing called the self, which is a personality. Freud called it an ego. The self, the sense of I. Now, we need it. We can't exist in this world without an ego. But what happens is because we are not staying current with ourselves, because we delude ourselves, deceive ourselves, lie to ourselves, obfuscate, and so on, we set up a whole network of what Freud called ego defenses. These are the lies that we tell ourselves, the vanity, the stupidity, the nonsense, the show that is totally different from who we really are. And then we think that's who we are. We go around believing that's who we are. And if that is broken, that bit is broken, that doesn't work. And that's where all the, the problems arise. The witness bearer, the soul, the pure spirit, whatever you want to call it, this which lives forever within you and presumably through lifetime after lifetime, is not broken, of course. It's pure, and that's the whole point. When you can reveal that to the person, when they can reveal it to themselves, healing is already done. Everything broken is already repaired. Exactly. That's the whole basis of it. But we do live in this world of illusions. We do have these illusory selves. In the world of illusions, they're pretty real, aren't they? I mean, they feel pretty convincing. Therefore, we have to deal with them. We can't just go into denial about them and think they don't happen, because they do happen. They're a phenomenon. We've created them. They're a phenomenon. They exist. So we've got to deal with them. And that's why healing, or cleansing, or clearing.
And if you believe that you have a number of different things that need healing, do you focus on one, and will that affect the others if you do so?
Well, yeah, the art is to try and discern the root cause of everything at that point in time. There was a book written by a famous, at the time, Danish physician called Simon Grudek in the late 1800s, which is one of the books on R.D. Laing's reading list for his students that had a big impact on me, wherein he really describes clearly how the it is, he calls it, is this mysterious, the soul that we were just talking about, in disharmony, that when there is that disharmony and the soul is not being heard, and the personality has become so carried away with itself that it believes that's all there is, symptoms manifest. And if you can get back to the soul again and see that that's why they manifested, the symptoms disappear. That was his thing. Now, what you do in the Daoist system is you look for the root cause in one of the 5 vital organs. It's the easiest way to go. It's quite practical and simplifies everything and makes it quite pragmatic, and it works. So, for example, if you've got stiffness in your tendons, like it's getting difficult to walk, and it's not the joints themselves, it's not arthritis, it's just stiffness in the tendons. The muscles are fairly supple, but the tendons are stiff, so you're getting aches and pains just above the knees, for example. And at the same time, your eyes are going a bit blurry, your vision's going a bit blurry, and you're kind of blinking in the light quite a bit, and occasionally having headaches or migraines, and maybe getting a bit nauseous. If you're female and maybe your periods are coming early or late, or very heavy or unpredictable or irregular or whatever, and you're getting irritable and you're blowing up at people, or you're feeling depressed, which is much more common, like you're flat and you haven't got the energy to, you can't be bothered with it all, you would look to the liver as being the root cause primarily. But then if you were really smart, you'd probably be looking to the kidneys, which support the liver, and checking whether there was a deficiency there. It's slightly tricky, all of this, sharing it with everybody, because one of the key factors in the Daoist healing system is diagnosis. And they say traditionally that's 90% of the study is learning how to diagnose. The treatment bit is just 10%. And if you knew how much that was, it's a big 10%. Therefore the 90 is huge. And it really comes down to pulse reading. It actually comes down to being able to see someone's energy field. But you learn to diagnose through the pulses, and it's fairly fail-safe. So doing it on yourself is slightly tricky, so one has to go with looking at what state am I in, what's my emotional state. And what I teach is how to link those to the, to correspond those to the relevant organ, and then show you how to stimulate that organ in the right way to get things balanced again. It won't just usually be one organ, it will be a series of organs. That's kind of how it works with the Daoist healing.
And whatever the problem and whatever organ is needing stimulation, how much of the healing is actually about intention to heal or be healed?
Well, it's impossible to say how much of it is anything, but the intention must be there. There has to be an intention to retrieve one's state of wholeness. That has to be underlying. I would have thought anyone on the path would be with that as their underlying intention, because all of life is a healing. I mean, everything that you're doing is for your healing. Everything that happens is to bring you back to the state of wholeness. That's the point of the journey, if there is one. And the intention is crucial. Acceptance is then really important. There has to be an acceptance of the state of the being, and then breathing, learning how to keep the breath flowing so that the energy is moving. And the combination of those three is probably it, with a little bit of technique and focus alongside of that. The intention part is best exercised through visualization. If you visualize, in other words, get a picture in your mind of yourself looking healthy and strong and victorious in the game of life in terms of having not let the bastards grind you down, and if you are with a picture of your face looking just elated to be alive, delighted to be alive, which is, in my opinion, the definition of success, regardless of material conditions. Just if you're delighted to be here in any given moment, you're successful in that moment, for sure. That's the only reason people go after the wealth and the prestige. It's for success. It's for feeling it's good to be alive, and you can just do that anyway. Just feel delighted to be alive. I forgot what I was talking about now. Sorry, I just went off there.
Don't worry. This is a good one. I think this will resonate with a few people. How come, if you truly feel ready for healing and actively seek it from others as well as try to heal yourself, you can still end up not being healed?
Well, that's a good question, because what does it mean to be healed or not be healed? I need to talk about this. You know, over the years, I've treated enough people with terminal illnesses, or apparently terminal illnesses, and sometimes a miraculous recovery would occur, a few times actually, and it took a lot of focus and an amazing amount of application from both me and them, and the rest of it is a mystery. Why that happened to some people and others it didn't, I don't know, but there were also numerous occasions where people didn't get better and they died. And I've spent quite a long phase. I remember the beginning part of practicing, I was doing a lot with babies and births. I was the guy actually brought baby massage into the UK in a big way, and was working a lot with babies, being at births a lot, doing acupuncture, easing childbirth pains and all the rest of that stuff. And then in the sort of latter part of it, I found myself equally working with as many people who were dying and helping people pass in a peaceful way, because that's a big thing, isn't it? It's what we're all building towards. And that was where I had to really come to terms with the fact that, you know, it's not all about, you know, we're all going to die. All of us are going to die at some point. And, you know, we might die through an accident or what have you, but, you know, if we don't, we'll die of an illness. And even if you die of old age, it's still of the fact that the oxygen that kept you alive has now oxidated or rusted you, and so you die of rust. So one way or the other, you know, the illness will get you if an accident doesn't first. And therefore, what is healing? So it keeps coming back to the same thing. It's being able to achieve a sense of wholeness where you are congruent with your deepest self while operating your external, superficial self efficiently, effectively, and successfully in the world. So from moment to moment, you feel whole. That's what healing actually means. And with that, the symptoms lessen in their intensity, in my experience, in their frequency of appearing. And even if you do have some horrible disease, which most of us do at some level of our being going on, that's just the way nature works, it doesn't matter. You'll sustain. You'll abide regardless. You'll keep going until it's time for you to say bye and leave the planet. It doesn't have to be debilitating, in other words, and that's what I think we're trying to do. I used to do a lot of work with Bristol Cancer Centre, who are amazing people, do brilliant, brilliant work, and It gradually fell into, as it often did with these situations in my life so far, is that I was there to help the doctors. You know, I was healing them, if you like, talking to them, just bolstering them, because they were the ones doing all the work. So I used to go down quite regularly, and we'd have these amazing sessions, and it was really rewarding on that level. And they also added to the reward by giving me a session with the healer that used to work there. It was a lovely elderly woman who was a real genuine, authentic old-timer who, you know, not a modern type one. She was a really, like, not a marketing kind of person. She was a real proper healer. And she used to put her hand on my chest and lay me down on the table. You know, when you're hanging around a cancer centre, you do think naturally about whether you've got cancer, and if you did have, what would it do, and how would you live or die, and what would it be like, and how scary and how horrible and all the rest. When she had her hand on my chest, none of that was going on. I was purely in my soul, feeling all right. You know, whether I died the next moment, I didn't mind. I didn't care. I was just feeling beautiful, at one with the universe. It didn't matter what was occurring physically or mentally. I was at one. I was healed in that moment. That's what healing means to me. And then everything seems to fall into place around that. But if you're expecting utopia, if you're expecting perfection with no healing, this is not the planet for it. We've got to find somewhere else for that one.
Talking of, you know, you're working in a cancer centre, presumably, where they may have been using some Western medicine. We've got a question. Should I have Western medicine and methods I'm being recommended when I don't really believe in them?
It's a weird one, that. I know that one. I mean, I think there are times where it's expedient. I mean, you know, like I'm up on the mountain here, and the stove is cold. It's really, really cold up here, seriously cold. And I'm writing a book, and I'm making an album at the same time. I've never done the two together like this. And if I don't keep the stove going, and it goes out, it gets really cold, but I get so absorbed in what I'm doing, I don't stop, and 8 hours later I'm just suddenly frozen to the spot, because I've been with no heat for all that time. And the tinder has all run out, and it's been raining, so there's no point gathering up more. So I could no newspapers to burn or either left, and the magazines are crap for that. So I went down to the supermarket and bought some those things for barbecues, you know, the firelighter things, and the charcoal to use as tinder. And you know, it worked really well. Suddenly I had the stove going in 2 seconds. It's just like central heating. It was brilliant. You know, I put the coal on top and everything was dandy. There's a smell of paraffin in the air, which is a bit nasty, but then, you know, it worked. Now, the true warrior in me is a bit like, you know, it's a bit like if I take a Nurofen and I get a headache. It's nice because it makes the headache go away, but there's a part of me going, you shouldn't really be doing that one. It's not about should, you know, it would be better if you hadn't done that, because you're kind of somehow, yeah, you're kind of weakening yourself every time you do those things. But, you know, we live in a world where things have to get done through expedience. So, you know, sometimes you need that kind of medicine. I've had it myself. You know, when I nearly died 2.5 years ago, there were a couple of interventions that they had to make in the hospital. And, you know, it was one of the rare times afterwards that I did take antibiotics for the infection. If I hadn't have done, and they hadn't have done that stuff, I wouldn't be here now. So yeah, you know, but then you've got to supplement it with a lot of work on yourself to keep the spirit and soul and the energy all balanced and the body balanced, to rebalance it afterwards. Like, you know, I don't believe in purism. I think that's just being childish, really. It's extreme. Yeah, so if you need it, take it. Of course you don't believe in it, but it kind of works for an expedient. You know, I mean, I'm once a week, not while I'm here, of course, but once a week, when I'm in London, I'll do... in England, I mean, I'll do a session with a group of dangerous psychotics. That's how they've been diagnosed. Guys who've been institutionalized for 10, 20 years or whatever. I think, you know, the game is I teach them to meditate and to move their bodies in a different way. But we do it really. We're just talking most of the time, and it's amazing to see what happens. Now, a lot of those, in fact, not a lot, all of them are on antipsychotic drugs. I believe that because they've had such a lack of therapy, this is actually the first time many of them have ever been asked, what's wrong? What are you feeling? What's going on in there? I'm the first guy who's ever asked them in 20 years, some of these guys. That's ridiculous, isn't it? They give them antipsychotic drugs instead, so it numbs them. Now, because they haven't had enough therapy of any kind yet, if they suddenly stop taking those antipsychotic drugs. I know they're fantasies, these guys. They talk about breaking glass and doing dangerous things with it, or grabbing a gun and shooting people. Blah, 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 blah. So, you know, we need, actually, unfortunately, the mess it's all got into here in the world with this, you know, huge overcrowding and lack of facilities and so on and so forth, even in places developed as the UK. We need to have stuff that numbs people. We need to have stuff that, you know, antibiotics, and I could go on and on and on for all the various drugs that have been invented. And yeah, you know, we're really dealing with a massive kind of drug pushing industry there, on the one hand, but on the other hand, it does work when it's needed. So you've got to just compromise a bit sometimes, I believe. Yeah, but always seen as just an adjunct to the real healing process.
And what about diet and exercise? What are your thoughts on them in relation to healing?
Well, exercise is crucial. I don't understand how anyone can possibly expect to feel happy, healthy, or anything positive if they don't do daily practice. I just don't get it. I don't know how anyone can. It's like it's like not having a poo or not having a piss or whatever. You know, how can you live like that? However, the problem is that there's not a lot of awareness of what is intelligent exercise. So yeah, running's really good. Running's lovely, but not everyone's got the time or the inclination. Swimming's really good, but you know, you got to go to a swimming pool or go somewhere to do it. And so on, and rock climbing, all the rest of them, brilliant stuff. Gyms as well, you know, gym, you can get a lot of value from going to the gym, but you've got to go there and do it, and so on. However, the old internal exercises of India, Tibet, and China are amazing, and as long as you don't get too rigid or po-faced about it, and don't walk around like one of those yoga people with the mats under your arm and a bottle of Evian in the other hand, with a kind of righteous look on the face, although you can if you really want to. It can be really brilliant if you do it every day. You don't have to go to classes. You can, once you've learned it, you do it on your own. Yoga's brilliant. Qigong is brilliant, as long as you learn the right stuff and don't learn nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense around, I have to say. And the martial arts, Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, White Crane, they're all brilliant. There's a few Japanese arts that are good, but again, then you have to go to a dojo, so that kind of limits it. Everyone needs to do something alone at home every single day. Just a basic run-through, just to keep the joints flexible and the blood and energy moving and the organs healthy. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, that's what I teach. That's why I teach all the Daoist stuff. Try and keep it as simple and practical as possible, and limit it to something people can do in a short period of time. But yeah, you've got to. As for diet, when you do Tai Chi and meditation and all the rest of it that I practice, traditionally they've always said that the diet regulates itself, and I really believe that. The more I have gone further into the development of the Qi and so forth, the less I felt like eating junk food. I would never eat junk food now, but it's not out of willpower. I just don't want it. It's like I used to love it when I was a teenager. I used to love these things in England called Wimpies, the greasiest, unhealthiest hamburgers in the universe, and I love them. I used to eat 4 in a row, not even with onions on, just greasy, horrible, dead meat in a bun. And now I wouldn't go even near anywhere like Burger King and McDonald's. It's not because I've got a thing about it. I just don't want to eat that kind of energy-depleting rubbish because it's bad for me. I know that. And but if I feel like eating anything, I'll eat it. I just give myself permission, but generally I tend to eat really healthily because I feel like eating healthily, and that's all there is to it, really. I've never really understood this absurd obsession with food. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. It's not such a big deal, you know. Just relax, and your body will tell you what to eat. You know, if you want to eat a bit of chocolate or a bit of crap, just do it. But then do more exercise and eat something healthy after to balance it. The Daoists talk about balancing the colours a lot. So, you know, you make sure you've got a balance of oranges and yellows and reds and greens and browns, and as little whites as possible, and generally avoiding blue food, or purple, yeah, blue food, other than blueberries and so on. And just don't get into this 5-a-day nonsense. Just do what you feel to do, and your body will be fine. They also do fasting and lots of stuff like that. The one that I like the best is the 4-day apple fast, which is just the best. It's brilliant. It makes you high as a kite after a couple of days. It's really the best trip ever, and really healthy. Really makes you healthy. It clears all the unhealthy cholesterol, and clears your eyes, your skin, makes your hair look nice. It's brilliant.
All right. Well, we we've talked about diet and exercise. I guess the next thing we really ought to touch on is, you know, the importance or otherwise of regular meditation to both staying healthy and healing. And Victoria's brought a point about this. She says, I was advised meditation is good for calming the soul, but I've found the last few times just meditating and being mindful of my body and letting go of tension, I have felt more anxious at the end of it. How could this be possible, and is there a way around it, please?
Hi, Victoria. That's a funny one. Is there a way around it? Please. No, there's no way around it. It's all to do with how you meditate. So there's no one actually that I know teaches how to meditate. They teach meditation, but it's not really clear, the instruction and the steps to how to do it. The only system I know of that still has the knowledge, I know that the Vedic system has it, but it's not, I've not come across anyone teaching it. But the Daoist system is the only one I know of that still has that. And that's only because of the martial arts, because it's essential to be in that state when you're in the ring, or, you know, in a contest or in a real life fight, otherwise you'll lose. So they had to keep that one going. And that's the only reason that I still know about it, because of the martial arts, I guess. So that's what I pass on, how you actually meditate. And it's a very, very simple thing. You can never get rid of that anxiety. You can never get rid of that tension or the noise or any of it, but you can step back behind it inside the body. And then as soon as you do that, you're in command of it. You can reduce the anxiety and so on. But what happens is generally, whenever people start the process of meditating, the first thing that happens is whatever they've been denying rushes up to the surface, because they're not distracting themselves they're meditating instead. So, you know, what you got there was the anxiety that you've been suppressing for however many years it is, probably as long as since you were about 5 years old, I would imagine. And then it all comes rushing out. So it's like going into a dirty, dusty room for the first time in 20, 30 years. And it's horrible at first because the dust goes up your nose, it's filthy and disgusting, the whole process is horrible and you wish you'd never started. But once you've cleared the room, which does take a bit of effort, once you've done it, beautiful, you've got a new room and it's all clean and sparkly. Life is new. So that's what the meditation process is like. But the way I teach it, I have to say, and I had to get it that way for myself so that I'd get it properly, it's pretty fail-safe and it works for everybody that I know of. The one that we do in School for Warriors, it's just like, it's a brilliant technique, and that is the basis of being healed, is knowing yourself as whole, and that is what you get through meditating once a day. It doesn't have to be for very long. It doesn't have to be, it only has to be for 10 minutes if you like. You know, it doesn't have to be much more than that, as long as you do it properly. Yeah.
This next question is sort of slightly related to Victoria's question, and it's, why can healing sessions sometimes make you feel more ill?
For exactly the same, yes, as you said, it's related for the same reason, because before the condition can be cleared up, it has to be fully accepted, acknowledged, and, as I said before, loved. And when you go for healing or you start a healing process, it's the same as when you start a meditating process. It's the same thing, really. The first thing that will happen is what you've been suppressing will come to the surface. So your body managed to keep it down somehow from full view, and then you go for the healing, and then it comes up. But it had to for it to be dealt with. You can't deal with something you can't see, so you have to bring it up into the light of day so that you can look at it, accept it, acknowledge it, accept it, and love it, and therefore it will be healed, or thereby it will be healed. So that's quite normal. You know, it's quite a common thing to happen when you have a good, powerful healing session. Quite often at the beginning, the first thing that will happen is you'll get a healing reaction, it's called, and your symptoms will get worse, and they calm down and they tend to clear up. One of the things I prided myself on as I kind of got more experience with the acupuncture and so forth, was not eliciting that healing crisis in people, was learning how to sort of stimulate the flow subtly enough for it to be not cause that reaction. It's kind of like, look, the part of you that causes the illness, because remember, we do that to ourselves. We generate all the conditions in our body. The part of you that does that is the part of the soul that is not being heard. And if it's still not being heard, it has to keep banging you till you listen to it. So it's all well and good that you've gone for the healing, but you probably at that point have still not heard what your soul is screaming at you, the pain that it's in for being denied. And therefore it will just hit you even harder. Like, give me fucking healing, bang, and it will give you this thing even more. That's how it works. And then when you finally go, all right, I get it, you know, and then you come back to yourself in wholeness, then everything calms down. That's the mechanism of it.
This is getting
Hey, can I just say something? I've been up on this mountain in this barn on my own for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. I can't remember when I got here actually. 4 days, 5 days. And I haven't spoken to anyone because there's no phone signal. I haven't really spoken to anyone other than my friends Jeb and Mike occasionally. That's why I've got this verbal diarrhea. I hope you're all right with it, everyone.
So here's an interesting one for you. I would like to know why I disrupt my own harmony and healing. I have all the tools I need to heal myself, but at the moment I choose to live recklessly with little self-respect.
I think I've got a hunch that that's the one or an either-or thing that you're putting forward, and it's probably both. I mean, I imagine that you are engaging in the healing while being reckless as well, and that has to be accommodated. We you know, like my friend Raja Ram always says, that your body is your temple, yes, but it's your nightclub too. And if you're in denial of the nightclub, all kinds of problems happen. You know, the people who go into this austerity, personal austerity space, and the puritanical thing, look at the trouble that comes out of that one. You know, they're the people that will behead other people. They're the people who do all that crazy shit because they've got the darkness so suppressed. The beast inside is so suppressed. You know, you've got to give the wild beast space to roam a bit. It's got to have its head a bit. If you're feeling that need to party and be a bit reckless, yeah, it's fine. You just got to compensate for it by doing more training on a daily basis. And so you have to kind of come to an agreement with yourself. I think one of the big problems we have with our mental health in general, and one of the big causes of what they call depression, is that we make agreements with ourselves. It's like, right, after I've done this, I'm going to go and do some exercise, and then I'm going to go and to the shops and buy this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this. And you find that you don't do that. You break the agreement with yourself. But you don't go to yourself, hey, I broke the agreement. The reason is because of the burn. Instead, I'm going to do blah. Is that okay with you? And you go, yeah, that's fine. Thanks for letting me know. You just break it and go into denial. So the soul that was the one that suggested the wise course of action and then got totally betrayed gets really down. And when your soul gets limited, you know, kind of diminished, that's what causes depression. You know, you lose the wild spark within. So, you know, when you make an agreement with yourself, you either stick to it or tell yourself why you're not and what you're changing it to. It's the same with other people when you're making agreements with them as well. It's just common courtesy, really. So, what was the question? Sorry?
It was all about disrupting your own healing by living recklessly and a bit...
Yeah, right. So get mature about it and say, look, I do have this need to do whatever it is you're calling reckless. I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's unhealthy. We know that. So I am also going to agree with myself to do such and such and such to balance it up. And if I don't stick to that on any particular day, I will, you know, explain to myself why I'm not and try and make up for it the next day somehow. This is just preliminary stuff, you know, because it's just, you know, you've got to train yourself at the beginning like a child, really. Once you get it, though, you can relax and it will just happen spontaneously. The more you let yourself do what you want to do while remaining mindful, the more quickly it will heal itself. So that's the Daoist approach. Rather than castigate yourself at every turn, what you do is you allow yourself to do whatever you feel like doing, providing it's not going to be harmful to somebody else, you know, in a willful way. But you do it completely mindfully. You are aware of the presence of the Tao in every single action and motion and event and situation. No matter what you're eating, drinking, doing sexually, ingesting substance-wise, whatever it is you're doing that you might think is reckless, as long as you do it and see the Tao inside of it, you will be healed from it really quickly, without much effort. In fact, I found in my own life.
And what about working with the Tao? How can you attract healing energy from the Tao, we've been asked?
That makes me laugh because it makes you think like the Tao is some sort of like repository of stuff like healing energy. That you can't not work with the Tao. This is all Tao. You can not. There's no separation. Everything is Tao. I mean, that's the point. When you're drawing your energy off everything around you and from everything within you by being fed by it, and that comes from being delighted just to be alive. You know, remembering I'm a spirit in a human form. I'm passing through here for a while. What an amazing adventure this is. How exciting, how exhilarating. From that energy comes the healing spark. How do you draw the energy from the Tao? Well, it's all Qi. That's what I was saying. That's the way the Daoist, if you want to know that, that's the Daoist healing system. You know, you're using the Tao in motion and channeling it through your body. Well, it's going there anyway, but you're actually, what you're doing is you're stopping blocking it moving through you. This is what we tend to do, is we block the Qi moving through us because we resist it, because we are built to resist. If we didn't resist, we wouldn't exist, you know, in the first place. So, you know, we resist the flow of atoms. That's why we've got a shape. And so it's our nature to resist things, and we'll resist the healthy as well as the unhealthy. So what we tend to do is, because we form opinions, and these opinions create positions, and these positions translate into postures in the body. These postures, which will be cramped and crumpled and contracted and so on and distorted, will cause a distortion and a contraction in the energy flow. So it's not that we've actually got to do anything to make the Tao put its Qi through us. We've just got to stop doing the stuff that was stopping it.
What about stressful situations? We've got somebody saying, I have a deeply stressful situation at work which is making me feel ill. How can I deal with the stress or find the courage to move on?
Well, first of all, the situation is not making you feel ill. You are making you feel ill in reaction to the situation because you're resisting it, and probably rightly so. If you can, the way the Taoist sage would approach this is, and this I obviously understand that when the emotions are involved, it's much harder to put this into, it's a challenge, but then what isn't? If you can see that all the players involved in that situation at work are expressions of the same Tao, that all of them are, if you like, are Buddhas in disguise, and that behind the theatre of it all that's going on is the Tao is giving you a message lovingly. It might be presented in a nasty cover with thorns on and all the rest of it, but the message inside is still the one of love for your healing. So if you can choose to adopt the position that everything that happens is for your highest good, this situation of stress is for the highest good, it's going to lead to your healing one way or another, you would not have generated such a reality were it not that you thrive on the sensation it affords you in your belly. That's why you do it. It gives you a particular sensation of stress in your body, and that particular sensation makes you feel alive at the moment. That's okay. Once you acknowledge that, you realize you've got a choice. You can soften it down a little bit. Maybe you don't need so much stress. But regardless of that, if you can be in somewhere inside of you thankful to those people, however much they're acting out like arseholes, if you can be thankful to the spirit inside of them, that shifts the energy somehow immediately, and things start moving. And then if you speak to your innermost self, which is essentially one with the Tao, and say like, my soul will only take so much pain in this situation. As soon as it's hit that level, well, I might not realize it, but just move me out of here, one way or another, move me out of the situation. It's either by shifting the personnel spontaneously around you and whatever's creating the problem, or shifting you out of there into something new. But the key is to relax and trust the adventure and not take personally what is being said or done. They're not doing it to be horrible to you. Actually, they're actually doing it because it's the best they can do according to their present state of evolution to express the Tao through themselves, and it just needs to come through to you in that kind of weird way at the moment. I'm not sure if that was clear enough, but that's what I was trying to convey.
Now I've got the $64 million question next, Stephen. How do you heal a broken heart?
Why is it 64 million? I've always wanted to know.
No idea.
But, well, No, will someone actually give me $64 million for answering this? Because it is definitely worth that plus some, my answer. But I have to just give the proviso that I've got to go get a glass of water, which will take me about 42 seconds. Can you just hold fire? Could you recite a healing poem or something?
No, what I'll do is I'll give people a little bit of an overview about how we're going to be developing Barefoot Doctor Global to focus a bit more on healing. So while Stephen just dashes off to get his glass of water, I'll just talk you through a little bit of that, and then we'll come back to a few more questions, if that's okay with you, Stephen.
Yeah, cool. Be back too.
All right. Okay, so the whole aim of the Barefoot Doctor Global website is to support you in your own healing, not just of body and mind, but also spirit and anything that's not working in your life. Stephen, as you'll know if you've had the emails this week, everything Stephen does, he says, is driven by an intention to heal. And that may have got a little bit lost when people look at the website and they see books and events and courses and workshops, and there's all the martial arts stuff we've been talking about, there's meditation, there's music, but everything on the site is driven by an intention to heal. And so the focus this year is very much going to be moving much more onto healing, and that's through all the different things that are on the site. So the weekly wisdom, which comes in the form of wisdom drops, and for members there are members only wisdom drops, the weekly column and the I Ching, where Stephen reads the hexagrams for you. And we're going to be introducing some new features on Barefoot Doctor Global, which are really exciting. If you're a member already, you'll get them straight away. And if you want to join us, you will benefit from these new things, one of which is a new healing clinic. And Stephen is going to be making some regular videos whereby you help choose the topic, and he will make the videos about those, and they'll all be on the subject of healing, one thing or other in your life, be it physical healing, emotional healing, fixing some, well, helping with some area of your life that's not working. And also we've had so many requests for the Barefoot audios, the old meditation pods that used to be on the previous site. We'll be reintroducing those as well. And I believe Stephen is now back, glass of water in hand.
I am.
Are you there?
Yep, I am.
Fantastic.
I am.
Okay,
And I just wanted to add to what you were saying. It's not really that we're doing anything new. It's always been about the healing. It's just that in this over this world, but we've got so much information coming at us all the time, and there's so much stuff out there being offered constantly that unless you really state the real obvious, people just don't get what you're doing because we're all just too busy. So it's like healing, there you go, because we've got to stick it down to one word. That's essentially what it's all about. I just really want to induce healing for everyone. That's what I'm here for. And go on.
I was going to say, and this next question actually is perfect, because I'm sure it just resonates.
But what about the broken heart? The person's lying there with a broken heart.
Did we leave that one? We didn't answer it, did we?
I haven't done it yet.
And before you start,
I want my $64 million actually.
Well, we found out where the term came from. Apparently the term came from a game show in the 60s in which the top prize was $64,000 for answering the final question. We've just moved it up to 64 million, so there we go.
Well, I actually think we're a bit behind the times inflation-wise. It should be 64 billion, shouldn't it, really, these days? Can I answer the broken heart one, or do you want to answer the other one first?
No.
All right.
Broken heart.
So the broken heart syndrome. There is no such thing as a broken heart. Your heart doesn't get broken at all. It's nonsense, that. It's just melodrama. Do you know what melodrama actually comes from? The word melo is from the Greek word for song. As in it was a sort of like, a singing drama, like a musical. It was that passionate. So it's like overblowing everything. The heart does not get broken at all. It just gets stretched. In fact, it's not even the heart that gets stretched. It's energetically speaking, it's the heart protector, which is like, equates to the pericardium, which is somehow stretched. It's strained. It gets strained because the pain of it all goes on there. In fact, a lot of the pain doesn't really go on there. It goes on in the solar plexus below it, causing tension in the chest. And that's where you accept your food. It's where you accept information. It's where you accept what is. The solar plexus in the upper abdominal area provides the energy to accept what is going on. When the energy there is low through lots of stress and tension, you can't accept it. By the same token, the constant feed of information coming through you that needs processing and accepting causes stress in the solar plexus. Now, when you have been in a situation where you've invested in a picture, an outcome with a particular person, and it doesn't work out that way, and you're left bereft, you have a huge amount of extra information to process. You've got, well, you know it, you know what it's like. You've got to deal with low self-esteem problems, lack of confidence problems, attachment problems, letting go problems, jealousy problems, anger problems, fear problems, all the rest of the stuff that you've got to go through on a personal level, which you tend to conglomerate as having a broken heart. Well, because there's so much information, the solar plexus gets really tight. And every now and again it becomes overload. It's like the tragedy or the apparent tragedy of that person having walked away, or you let them go, or whatever it is that happened, and not being in your life anymore, it causes pain in the solar plexus, about like contractions in childbirth, except it goes the other way around, because while those speed up as you get closer to the birth, these ones slow down and become less frequent, less intense as time goes by. What you can do is you can accelerate the mending process dramatically by focusing on it in this way. As you become mindful, every time you go into the back of yourself, so you're like the presence watching it all, every time you notice a contraction coming in the belly, at first, in the first day or so, it will be every 3 minutes, and it will last for about 30 to 60 seconds. Bringing with it a whole set of thoughts in the mind of, the sentimental thoughts and anger, all the different thoughts, but they're only thoughts in your mind that you're manufacturing. As the wave comes on, you just breathe through it like you would a contraction in childbirth, and you mentally disperse that tension in the solar plexus till it's gone. It then lasts much less than 30 seconds. It's probably only about 10 seconds before it passes. And then you wait for the next one, and when it happens, you do the same. And as you keep doing that for about 3 days, you'll find that the frequency of the contractions reduces, and the intensity reduces. But after 3 days, you've got it quite handled. Then you feel quite proud of yourself. In the process of that, you look at the situation and you realize that what's happened is beyond your control. Everything works together for the highest good. Therefore, it's meant to be. That person was meant to have been removed from your theatre at that point in time. One of the obvious opportunities is that you've now a chance to fall back in love with yourself again, because when you're in love with somebody else, you don't really have much time for being in love with yourself. So, and I'm not talking narcissistically, I mean coming back to where it's beautiful being with you, your primary relationship, your real lover. And that really means the Tao, your big self. So it's an opportunity to come back to your Tao. It's a beautiful thing. You then have the opportunity to create an intention for what you want next. So I remember the last time it happened to me when I split up with my last wife, and I was really smashed to pieces like I've never known before. And what I did all this stuff, and it worked amazingly. Within 90 days, because it is a 90-day process, I was sorted, I was healed. It took another couple of years after that to really kind of get fully easy with it and not be in any pain whatsoever about it. So if I see her on TV or whatever now, it's just like, oh, bless her, I don't feel any kind of pang of any kind at all. And I did it in basically the first 3 days was that. There was a lot of crying and looking at the ceiling, lying on a bed, like looking up at the ceiling, the tears rolling and all that stuff. But with all of it, I just took it as being contractions that needed to be released, which I did. I didn't take the drama personally. I wasn't investing in that. And then you have the opportunity to decide what you do want in your life. So I remember telling myself, 90 days from now, my intention is to be on top of the world, even though it made no sense. It would be just ridiculous. How was I ever going to feel that in 90 days? But I am going to feel on top of the world. I'm going to be totally buzzing. I'm going to get my eye back in for the girls, because that had to happen. And I'm going to be like I'm going to be back on it again. I'm going to be having a beautiful life. And there was more to it than that. And I was cheapening it somewhat in the description. 90 days later, sure enough, that's exactly what I had. It works. It does work. And life goes on and gets better and better and better. And I have to say that once you get through it and you do fall back in love with yourself, the relationship with the self is magnificent. You know, like for me, being in this wilderness on the mountain, writing and creating completely alone with no mobile signal, no internet, is just beautiful. It's lovely being with me. I'm a really lovely guy to hang out with. I'm enjoying it, and that's what we've got to get to. That's exactly what we've got to get to. It's about breathing, releasing the contraction, knowing it's all for the highest good, knowing that your heart is not broken. Stop indulging in these melodramatic descriptions of what's occurring just because everybody else does. That's all from Hollywood, all that stuff, and Charles Dickens and all the rest of it. You don't have to do that. We don't have to. We're bigger than that. So it's not, there isn't really a melodrama. It's like somebody comes, somebody goes. It's all Tao. Somebody better will come, or different will come, more appropriate rather to where you're at now, when you're ready for it. So, or they won't. It doesn't matter. You are the one that's important. Your relationship with you and your Tao. And really, the broken heart is the best way of getting back to it. Although I have to say that it is really horrible, and I do feel for you, because it is one of those invisible conditions that nobody else really understands, and you can't keep going on about it because they just get bored of you, don't they? So I really feel for you, and I wish you all the speed there is to come back to a state of reinflation, feeling gorgeous and beautiful again. Go on, what was the next question, Sue?
This is a good one. I'm sure lots of people will concur with this one. When I'm on my own, I can create inner calm, stability and happiness, yet as soon as other family members are nearby, it goes instantly and completely, despite efforts to preempt challenges and flashpoints.
Yeah, that's families for you. You know, I mean, that's how they are. It's hard, yeah. No, it's really hard being around other people. It is very, very difficult, and especially families where you've got all those ancient ties and everything. I think it's then learning, if you accept that that's where you're at with the family situation, it's learning to groove, to thrive on that tension, on that stress, rather than fight it. So you've got to learn, you've got to say, like, oh, here it comes again. You feel it in your belly. You come into the back of you, and there it is. You just breathe through it. You don't castigate yourself for losing the calm state. You kind of use that friction to energize you, in other words. But this all occurs when you can remain in the back of yourself, bearing witness to it all, breathing slowly throughout, with your mind pulled back into the rear of your skull and your heart wide open. And as much as it's painful and difficult, remembering that the other person that's causing you stress is only doing that because they're in pain. And if you can have that awareness, you have compassion. And with that compassion, things seem to kind of settle down. But this calmness that you're talking about might not be real anyway. It's not, we don't create calm. That's the thing. Calm is just part of the condition when you're in the transcendent state. But it can be an energized calm and an exhilarated calm. And the calm could also even include a bit of panic and jaggedy anxiety as well. It doesn't really, it's not about that. Because it's the constructed self that feels that kind of creative calm. The presence inside is beyond calm. There is no such thing as calm or not calm. It just is. And it's learning to come back into that. And that does take quite a bit of practice to keep coming into your back all the time. Once you've got that, those around you do tend to start behaving differently around you, and or you find that your Tao moves you out of that situation into somewhere where you can actually remain in a calm state all the time. I mean, I personally avoid those kinds of setups these days as much as possible because they're just too much of a challenge to maintain this level of pure exhilaration around getting involved with other people and all their stuff. It's just too difficult, you know, in any intense way. But that didn't happen by design. It happened because the more I got with myself, the less that stuff was kind of like forced upon me, if that makes any sense.
Okay, Stephen, we've got about 6 minutes left.
Hey, Stuart Wilde died. I haven't said this. My friend Stuart Wilde, if you've heard of him, he was a beautiful man. He was a really, really beautiful man. He was a big healer, that one. And he was one of the originals and a proper, genuine, authentic guy who did an amazing amount of work, good work in the world. And I knew him in his house in New Mexico. I don't know if you've ever heard of the entertainer Max Bygraves. He was like a guy in the the early 60s, but he was like the spiritual Max Bygraves. He was just so down to earth and funny and brilliant and great. And he just died. He had a heart attack at the age of 56 and he was driving a car and he died. Yeah, that was a couple of days ago. Bless his heart. She needs to say that. And may his energy be with all of us now, which I think it will be.
Indeed. So, as I was just saying, we've now got 5 minutes left, Stephen. So, do you want to move on to talking about how the focus of the website's going to change this year, or do you want to take a last question?
Well, I don't really feel moved to talk specifically, but I have, because last year I was fully occupied in that whole Big On thing. I wasn't with the focus on the relationship with you out there, or wherever you are, through the internet. I kind of let that one slide a little bit. And that's really where this has come from. It was that feeling of like, oh, I feel like I've neglected a bit, and I want to. I've just like, it's not coming out of goodness on my part. It's just an urge. I'm just feeling it. I'm impelled to connect more with you, and the healing is the medium through which it's the theme, isn't it, that we connect through. So yeah, it's really from that, and then the effects of that will be a much more useful for you experience when you come to play with me. But that's all I really feel like talking about it at the moment. Right. You're better at talking about all that than I am.
I'll say a few more words about it.
You're the genius behind all this.
Surprisingly enough, it is a whole year since Barefoot Dr. Global was relaunched, and part of the reason for doing that was that we were using old systems and they were falling over, and we needed to sort of make them work again properly. Healing the systems, we should have said there, shouldn't we, really? And now we're having a really good look at the content on the site and how we can help provide even better content than is already there. And for any of you who are members, I know you'll know just how much Stephen does provide for members, as well as all the free information that's on there about his books and events and courses, and there's all sorts of free wisdom that he releases every week. Usually about 4 or 5 times a week there's articles up there all about the Daoist approach to life. And for members there is more of that as well. So the members have their own wisdom drops as well as the free ones. There's a weekly column which we're going to be reinvigorating. There's the weekly I Ching, which is Stephen's reading of the hexagrams. And then, as I was just alluding to while Stephen was off getting his glass of water, we're going to be introducing a new healing clinic. We've not had much video on the site recently, so we're hoping that Stephen, with his iPhone or similar video device in hand, will be able to fairly easily now make some regular videos for you about healing. And we have already got, from the research that we did just a few weeks ago about the things that people have been struggling with and wanting to heal in their life, we have got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions, some of which we've tackled tonight, but there are many, many, many more, ranging from child abuse to things going wrong at work to grief to unhealthy states of mind. So we're going to start to release some videos. Stephen's kindly going to make some videos on those topics in the very near future. And then one of the things which people loved about the old site were the Barefoot meditation pods, and we're going to be reintroducing those. And if you signed up for the webinar, you'll have had a chance to experience those, because we gave you a free one when you signed up for the webinar. So hope you enjoyed that. There'll be many more for members of Barefoot Dr. Global. Something we launched last year, again trying to put the focus onto helping you deal with aspects of your life that aren't working, were the liberation webinars. Now these take place about once a month, and what Stephen does is with the help of the members we pick a topic and then we focus on that one topic, and Stephen will talk about it. He'll talk about the Daoist approach to healing that particular state of mind, and we will provide you with support materials to specifically target the acupressure points which he'll be alluding to. There usually are some visualizations or some affirmations, and all of those are made available in the members area even if you can't come to the live webinars.
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, that is an extension of, that's the healing. That's the extension of the clinic. We should call them something different and call it part of the clinic or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's really, that's what that is, isn't it? That's the healing.
Yep, well, like everything else, the website evolves as we go along. And another thing that we're going to be evolving for members is to make it an even better deal for you, because Stephen does offer email coaching. We haven't promoted it very much except to people who've particularly asked for it. But when you become a member now, you will get half price email coaching. That's one-on-one email coaching with Stephen. So if there is a particular thing in your life that you need to heal, that you're struggling with, that you're not getting the right kind of help with, and you feel that Stephen can help you with that, you'll be able to get half price one-on-one email coaching with him for that particular issue.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that they are also brilliant, and if I say that myself, I mean, I'm always coaching a few people all the time with it, and they're amazing. The effects that come off those interactions are absolutely incredible, amazing, in fact. Truly, truly, and I don't promote them because I'm really busy, but I want to open myself up for being of service wherever it's required. So I'm not plugging it because I have got a lot going on, but if you do want one, I truly cannot recommend anyone better.
We've got some other people who can reiterate that as well, who said they've really benefited from your coaching. And then the other thing to let you know about if you are a member of Barefoot Doctor Global is we're really going to be focusing on making sure that members get great discounts on other Barefoot Doctor products. So there will be discounts on the School for Warriors trainings. We've already just done a discount on the sonic healing, the music that Stephen produced, which is a whole sonic healing cycle, which members have had for half price. So those are the sorts of benefits that we're going to be focusing on this year at Barefoot Doctor Global. We've also, because it's a year, it's like a birthday. It's like a birthday for the new site. So we've got some gifts if you decide to renew your membership. Now, I will just make a point here. If you're a member listening to this, if you're on a monthly membership, you don't need to do anything at all. If you pay monthly, you won't need to do anything. We will make these gifts available to you in the members area of the website. If you are an annual member, everybody who signed up a year ago when we relaunched the site, your membership, the last of those group of people, your membership is expiring this week. So if you wish to renew your membership, you will get these gifts as well, and we need you to go through the renewal process by going to barefootdoctorglobal.com/thehealing. Now that URL there, that link, is where you need to go if you're not a member of Barefoot Doctor Global but you would like to join. barefootdoctorglobal.com/thehealing. And the gifts that we're going to be making available to you, the birthday gifts, are Stephen recorded a Daoist healing sounds meditation which puts the healing sounds to a barefoot beat, and it's fab. If you enjoyed the audio that we provided as a free gift with this webinar, I know you're going to absolutely love that. It's a longer one, it takes you through the healing sounds, and it's all set to a barefoot beat. Similarly, healing sounds are something that people have requested regularly. Stephen talks about them a lot, and we have a video of him doing the healing sounds and also some movements that go with those, so we will make that available to you as well in the members area. And then, just as an additional incentive really, as it's time to renew for a lot of people, we're making available all the interviews that we did. There's 16 of them with a whole range of people, from Robert Holden to David Hamilton, really well-known names, talking about various different aspects of health and healing. Now there's 16 one-hour audios from the Health Solutions series that we're going to be putting in the members area as well. So well worthwhile if you're thinking about renewing your Barefoot Doctor Global membership, or you're debating becoming a member. We've loads and loads and loads of great content for you this year, and those gifts are available to you providing you renew by the 31st of May. The cost, yes.
Can I just say, because it's just occurred to me, I mean, the point, I'm going back a bit here, of the coaching is that with all this stuff, on the one hand, getting taught how to do it is brilliant and you learn it, but there are times when you need specific instruction of how to use and what to use of all of it to have the effect that's required for your particular condition at the time. That's really the point of it all. It's like, it's all amazing. The information that we're giving out is fantastic, and you can use it to heal yourself if you pay attention and do what's explained clearly. But we need help sometimes focusing on what our particular situation is, and that's the point of the coaching, just so that you know.
Okay, fabulous. Well, if you remember, you can get that coaching for $247, which is half price, less than half price. It's $497 normally. So if you have got a particular issue, in effect, you can get membership of Barefoot Dr. Global and some one-on-one sessions with Stephen for about, well, less than the price that it would normally cost you as a non-member to get the 5 email coaching sessions. So well worth it. You get a whole year's membership for $270. And before all the people in the UK and Europe jump up and down, let me explain what that is in pounds and euros. So $270 is £177 thereabouts, or thereabouts €208, or if you prefer to pay monthly, if you buy the annual membership, you actually get 2 months free. You get 12 months for the price of 10. If you prefer to pay monthly, it's an easy way to spread the cost, if you like, and that's $27 a month, which is about 17 or 18 pounds and about 21 euros. So pretty good value, I hope you'll agree, because you get all the wisdom, the written wisdom on the website, the wisdom drops, the members' wisdom drops, the weekly column, the I Ching. You get the audios and the videos, the new healing clinic videos we're going to be introducing, the barefoot audios. I'm sure Stephen's going to be producing some brand new ones of those very soon. And you're also going to get the training, the liberation training, and again this is an absolutely core part of the membership offering. So we do liberation trainings where you, the members, vote on a particular topic, and these tend to be unhealthy states of mind that are causing you to feel pain in one way or another. And they can be anything.
And all that for about the price of a packet of 20 cigarettes in the UK per month. Not bad, eh?
That's pretty good, that's pretty good, yeah. Or coffees if you prefer your poison that way, or bottles of wine. Yeah, so 12 months for the price of 10 at $270, which is about £177, or pay monthly and it costs you $27 a month, which is about 17 or 18 pounds. So David's asking a question here. If I renew my membership, does that only start at the end of the current period? Yes, it does, David. But if you signed up, if you signed up after May last year, you don't need to worry about this. We'll just roll it into your membership as and when your membership renews. But basically, everybody who joined when we launched the site last year, due to the way that we were having to use the technology from the original slightly wonky system, we've not been able to automatically offer you the renewal, so we are asking you to renew at barefootdrglobal.com/thehealing, and if you do that, you'll be on our new system and everything will flow to you smoothly and seamlessly, we hope. And if it doesn't, get in touch with me and I will endeavour to sort that out for you. So unless there's anything else you want to say, Stephen, about the...
Yes, there's this book next to me here called How Mumbo Jumbo Conquered the World by Francis Ween. And I'm just thinking we need to conquer it back again.
We do, indeed. I thought you were talking about me talking mumbo jumbo for a minute there, Stephen. But I will just finish by saying thanks to everybody who's attended the webinar today. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people sign up for this, so we know there's a huge interest in and need for healing. So thank you for being here, and thank you to Stephen for a very, very interesting discussion, and thanks for being with us from your Welsh mountainside with dodgy connection.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Hey, listen, do you want to do a healing that gives you the feeling that you're dealing with revealing reality? Reality will do you. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much indeed. It's been lovely talking to you. Bless you all. Thank you, Sue. You're brilliant. Can I go now?
Yes, you can. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, miss. All right. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye for now.